One change I wouldn't mind seeing would be to introduce someone like Carter on the left wing. Just see what he can do. I'd probably prefer to start him than bring him off the bench.
When he gets the ball, Will Jordan, you're off the couch, you know he's going to do something. And he's the one player that we've got who's just got electric pace, as you say. He can see gaps, he steps.
We've talked so much about the impact that Holland has had, and let's hope that he's okay, because he did look like he was hobbling a bit when he came on.
DSPN, the Devlin Sports Podcast Network.
First round of the Rugby Championship, and we'll be talking about this all week into the second round of games. The South Africans unceremoniously undone by the Aussies in a rampant performance up on the high veld at Alice Park. And the All Blacks, well, a great scoreline, if not a brilliantly efficient performance. Tony Johnson from Sky Sport joins us. Tony, you were doing Auckland versus Taranaki on the weekend, and that young Auckland side got absolutely turned over in the wet. We could touch on that. But the one topic in the world of rugby everyone is talking about at the moment is obviously what happened at Alice Park. Just a stunning result, which has changed everything about international rugby, I believe. We'll park that for a second and we'll talk about that after we talk about the All Blacks, our team, because I kind of feel when you watch a game like the Springboks versus Australia, you're on such a high after that game with so much emotion, and then you watch our game and it felt a little flat, and I don't know whether that's a fair way of assessing that performance. And I also don't know, the way that we always talk about the All Blacks is we find holes and we're looking for weaknesses and we want to solve problems and all of that. I said yesterday when we did a little post-match after the game, my first initial reaction was 41-24. That's a scoreline to be celebrated, isn't it, if nothing else?
Yeah, I guess you've got to put it in a broad context, but you've also got to look at the game in isolation. The broad context is that they started the Rugby Championship with a win and a bit of icing on top of the cake in the form of a bonus point. Secondly, Australia had a chance to steal a march, obviously scoring that incredible win in South Africa with a bonus point. So I guess the All Blacks probably needed to match that.
Held serve in that case, right?
Exactly. So bottom line is, you look at the scoreline, you look at the points table, and you think, got the job done. But yes, frustrations, because there was a real rough patch in the third quarter of the game. Too many penalties given away, conceded some tries, couple of yellow cards, the backline malfunctioning at times throughout the match. So yes, there were frustrations, and I guess after watching a game, if you did what I did, which is watch the South Africa-Australia game
dovetail
first,
into it, yeah,
and didn't wait and watch a recording of that after the All Blacks, I suppose your expectations are really high. And so probably there were times where people would have felt frustrated and felt flat. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is 5 points, top of the table. If it means anything to anyone, back on top of the world rankings. I was
going to ask you about that,
yeah. In that context, they did what they had to do. But clearly, there's an asterisk there. There are aspects that will need to get better.
All right, so changes to the All Blacks this weekend. Can you see a heap of them being made then, given that we've already done almost what we wanted to do in Argentina, which was go and secure a point. We got that bonus point. We're obviously going to win this next game, but Scott Robertson now stuck in that thing. What do you do? Some players aren't performing perhaps to the highest of expectations. He's already had this idea of trying all the players in the squad. Do you then bring some guys in? Would you bring Jimmy the difference in those guys? Or do you look at that team and go, heck, you put 41 points on, you know, the way that the All Blacks operate is, I'm going to give you another chance to get it even better right.
Well, I'll firstly go back to what you said right at the beginning. I wouldn't take a second test victory for granted, because this is a capable Argentinian side. Will there be changes? Well, first and foremost, there'll be a couple of players who become available because they weren't for the first test. And if Tamaiti Williams is available, then he goes in. That's a change that they make, and that just makes the team stronger. I thought the forward pack was outstanding. Their set piece, again, they got
scrum
through
was brilliant, wasn't it?
The scrum was really good. Fletcher Newell with Scott Barrett in behind him on that tight head side, that was an absolute weapon. And he is now becoming, I think, an elite international tight head prop. And what a great 1-2 they've got there, Lomax, Newell, or Newell, Lomax, whichever order they bring them in on. So the scrum was really good. The lineout once more got through a test match without losing one of their own throws. 15 out of 15.
Yeah, that's a great stat.
Great stat, 3 as well. Yep. So the lineout's been going well. The temptation will be to stick with that. And again, Vai at 6, gives them something at the front of the line-out, disrupts line-out ball, or we get Patrick Tuipulotu coming off the bench. I think they got the balance of the bench right in this game too. Tuipulotu able to come in with that low carrying game that he's got and his ability to pinch a line-out as well. So you think you don't want to deviate too much from that. Obviously, Williams coming back, that's a given if he's fit. So do they make a change to the loose trio? Do they maybe, if Sititi is fit, bring him back?
I would think so.
Or do they throw Parker into the mix somewhere because you think they like him? There's a possible, maybe a little shuffle there in the loose trio, but I think given the platform, that was the most successful part of the All Black performance to me, was the platform that they got from their forward pack. In the back line, you start Ratima again. I thought he played really well.
I'll lay that down too. I thought the first 30 or 40 minutes, I thought he was really good actually. Like his support play is excellent. I thought he was clean, crisp. He didn't really make any mistakes. I wouldn't have taken him off as early as that either. I was going to leave him on for a bit longer. So,
well, I was thinking that too about the forwards, I would have quite liked to have seen Newell carry on for another 5 or 10 minutes and just do a complete destruction job on that pack. But obviously they had a plan. Again, with Ratima, I thought he was playing really well and would have been quite nice to see him get another 5 to 10 minutes. But they explained that after the game. I heard Scott Hansen saying, they wanted to get Christie into the game, hasn't been there for quite a while. They felt that some fresh legs at that stage could get the momentum going, that sort of thing. That was behind their decision-making process. But I think Ratima, the key to him was that he didn't try and overplay his hand.
Yeah, fair. That's fair.
He did all the basic requirements of the job. He cleared the ball nicely. He got to the rucks. And, of course, one of the great strengths of his game is his support lines. And he was there to take a nice inside ball off a searing break by Will Jordan and score a try. So he did well, and I think that they start him again. Maybe this would be a really good opportunity to get Kyle Preston into the subs, see what he can do, bring him in off the bench. Other than that,
midfield wise,
yeah, do they stick with Billy Proctor at centre?
And he's doing some stuff really well, and then he's not doing some stuff really well. So that's been the case for the last couple of tests.
But it's a really hard position. Keep saying this.
Yeah, you keep saying this, and it's based on defence.
Because of the way teams defend, you're probably only going to get a couple of opportunities of that in a game to make a break. So it really becomes about your defence, your accuracy on defence. The defensive side of things was pretty good too in that test match. There was the odd missed tackle.
We had lapses,
the odd lapse when the pressure came on. But yeah, that they maybe have painted themselves into a little bit of a corner here because they obviously see Rico Ioane as a centre, and there is a possibility.
So as a winger now, sorry.
As a centre. Beg your pardon.
As a winger, yep.
And then the possibility of a suspension for Anton Leonard-Brown. A lot of us thought that maybe that was a harsh yellow card, but if it's been confirmed, then he might miss the game. So maybe that they stick with Proctor there and just hope that backline functions better, which I think was the key to it. I'm not sure that it came down to individuals. It more just came down to the fact that they're still trying to play the game at 100 miles an hour, and that's another subject for discussion as well as the tactics. The one change I wouldn't mind seeing would be to introduce someone like Carter on the left wing. Just see what he can do. He brings a dynamism that's unique in this makeup, and so maybe they see an opportunity to start him. I'd probably prefer to start him than bring him off the bench. They might see it the other way around, but maybe a little shuffle there.
So it might be some of that. And also, what do you do with the difference? Do you bring him in as off the bench and play him maybe as a coming into the midfield, maybe play him as a wing?
It depends where they want to play him, because they still see Geordie Barrett as being the fulcrum of the back line. A lot of what they do revolves around him. I'm not sure they'll want to deviate from that. I think they'll want to keep him there. So who knows? It's just where there's a place.
You mentioned to me on the weekend strike power, and I thought it's a great way of summing up our backline, isn't it? We have players that, and I suppose every backline does, but we have a couple of players that are just standouts when it comes to this. And the guy with a 15 jersey on his back is almost getting to Cullen-esque kind of capabilities now, isn't he? When he gets the ball, Will Jordan, you're off the couch, he's going to do something. And he's the one player that we've got who's just got electric pace, as you say. He can see gaps, he steps. He's an extraordinary athlete, and I just love watching this guy play. I think he's a brilliant player.
Yeah, because I've been saying for a while that I don't care where he plays, whether it's fullback or on the right wing, because on the right wing you give him a bit of a roving commission with his ability to see openings, and he can be really effective from there. But then he turns around and produces one of his best all-round performances as a fullback that we've seen from him in the All Black jersey. And he has become a creator because obviously his early stamp on the game was this guy that scored these amazing tries, but he was involved in setting up 2 tries, didn't score one himself, which is a rare thing. His distribution this year has improved markedly, and the Crusaders used him in a role where he was passing the ball more than he ever has before. I'd say he threw more passes in this year's Super Rugby than he probably has the last 2 or 3 years. I don't have a stat to back that up, but that's just the impression that I got, that he was passing the ball a lot more and he was seeing opportunities for others that he was instrumental in creating. And so, here was I thinking that doesn't matter where he plays, and maybe you put him on the right wing, right wing, and bring Ruben Love in at fullback or something like that. But maybe they'll want to progress the core of this team more time together, which will be frustrating for people who want to see other players, Tavatava Nawai, Ruben Love and whatever. That to me is going to be one of the big question marks about the selection. What do they do? It's hard to second guess what they're going to do.
Team announced, of course, on Friday. We'll be all over that on the podcast. So overall, though, before we start talking about the Box versus Aussie, I gave us a B, and all year I've done this, and then I sit there on the couch and think, God, am I a real moaner? I mean, because as I said right at the beginning, you're always trying to find things that are wrong and the All Blacks can improve on. Yet if you sit back and look at those 2 results over the weekend and go, we went there, put 41 points on, we did fall asleep. But you also pointed out a great thing. In the fourth quarter, something we couldn't do last year, 5 or 6 matches in a row. I don't think we scored a point in the last 20 minutes. We turned that around, and how, in the last 20 minutes with 2 really good driving tries. And that uplifted me at the end of the game, because I thought that was the All Blacks putting the foot down again. Yeah. And that was really good to see. That means we got fitness. That means we can rearrange our headspace. That means we can go back to doing what we do really well, making all of those decisions at the right time. So I thought that was really pleasing.
They closed the game out really well.
Long-winded way of saying.
They managed to stem the flow. They went back. They figured out, right, what have we been doing really well? Let's go back to that. They were bold because they could have taken the 3. When the gap got closed up to 7, you think, kick a penalty,
and it's
make them have to
yeah.
score twice. No, they wanted to put the game out of reach, and I think they just felt that the way that line-out drive had been going throughout the game, we go for that, and they did.
And it's also a statement of intent from a forward pack, isn't it, when you do that?
Yeah.
That's what I liked about it as well. I mean, it's just like saying, no, we're going to muscle you up here is what we're going to do.
And there's no question that forward pack is really humming. We mentioned the line out before. The scrum was good. The driving ball is really good. They're really building something there. And obviously some new players have come in there, and we've talked so much about the impact that Holland has had, and let's hope that he's okay, because he did look like he was hobbling a bit when he came on, because the more you see him play, he's not the second coming of Brodie Retallick, but he has brought...
What a great expression that is.
No, because he's a
different kind of player, no.
But he still brings so much. He's the first coming of...
Well, he's also a
Fabian
go-to
Holland.
guy. You just know that when the ball goes to him, he's going to get it, right?
Yeah. But it's all... the other stuff that they did too, and the work around the defence, the forward tackling stats were really good. Mentioned too of Duplessis Kirifi. There's a lot of talk about him, about his relative size compared to some of the beasts that you see playing international rugby these days. What I love about him is his ability to sustain his effort right through the 80 minutes. So he was still as strong in the last 10 minutes of the game, making the tackles, willingness to hit the ball up, those sorts of things. So I thought he had a really good game, by the way. But that forward pack, clearly a strength at the moment, and they went back to it in the end. And as you say, that last quarter where the All Blacks were struggling to achieve anything last year, that was a big positive as well. The negatives, we talked about the back line, and the question is, do they persevere with that tactic? Do they try and just rein it back a little bit, be a little bit more judicious with when they try and
This has always been the question about our All Black backline, hasn't it? I mean, do you rein them in or do you let them go? And so
Well, that whole high tempo thing has been at the core of what they're trying to achieve, or what Scott Robertson wants to achieve with this team. Or do you, as Gregor Paul, in quite a thought-provoking piece in the Herald on Sunday, suggested that the strength of this team is its forward pack? Do you go back and you make the game, you build your game around that forward pack, around the fact that you've got... Obviously, he's injured at the moment, but in Cam Roigard, a really good player around the fringes. Hotham's got the potential to be that as well. Do you go back to that? To me, I sort of fancy something in the middle. Use that forward
we're
pack.
We're the All Blacks, man. We use the ball. That's what.
But but use the ball, but just be a little bit more judicious about when they try and do that. There's other couple of things that they have to work on. Again, the discipline, a couple of yellow cards, the momentum produced penalties. There was a slew of penalties for the Pumas, and also at times just looking a bit suspect under the high ball, and that's still a work on.
Okay. I said, in a word summing it up, I said satisfying.
Yeah.
Yeah? You happy with that?
Yep.
Satisfying.
Well, to me, they got the job done, bottom line. And so against a Pumas team that, let's
they're no scrubs, mate. They're
that's
not a
the
scrub.
strongest team that they were able to put on the
Yeah.
field so far this year. They had their French players back. I thought Albanos, their number 10, just show what a tremendous player he is, and their loose forwards were outstanding as well. How's Kramer? Gets his knee bent in half and just sort of gets up, shakes it off and carries on. Well, some guys would have gone off on a stretcher after that.
So let's not underestimate how good that victory was at that place.
DSPN.